Hi, my name is Jonathan Hicks. I'm back at the Dice Cup, and this evening I'm joined by
Steve.
Madly.
And we just finished playing Trismegistus, which is a heavy Euro with an awful lot going on. In theory, the theme here is you're some kind of alchemist. In this case, I was actually Isaac Newton. Everyone gets their own sort of specialised faction board here, but you're attempting to transmute various types of resources. So this starts off as lead. This is the worst one. And you get copper, tin, mercury, iron, silver, and ultimately gold. But in terms of how you take actions in this game, you roll all the dice at the start of the round, and they get put in these appropriate sort of bins depending on the symbol on these, the interesting symbols. And on your turn to start with, you pick a dice. So the more dice there are in an area, the more powerful the dice is. So I probably want to take the one from the 3 area. So I could take this red dice, for example, and because there's 3 dice here, it goes on my potency track here at level 3. And then you sort of spend the dice. Each time you keep taking turns, you take a dice to start with, but then when it comes back to you, you kind of spending the dice each time, using up the potency. And there's a number of different things you can do with it. So one thing you probably want to do is take one of these recipes. There are certain kinds of potions that you're trying to make, and they require certain sorts of ingredients. So you can see this requires iron and tin and things like this. But there's an important difference between the sort of basic resources here and then the refined versions. So if you spend the appropriate symbol, so to take one of these things, you would need, this one, this is the like sort of funny 2-4 thing. So I could spend one of these to take one of these potions. So let's imagine I take this one and I put it here. And I'm going to try and complete this recipe. So then on a subsequent turn, I can spend this to transmute things. But this is where it gets tricky. Because if I want to transmute, in order to get, let's say, the tin here, I would need to transmute, and you kind of follow the arrows. So this one would go along here into here. But to do that, I have to spend a black dice. You spend white dice to do transmutations in this section, and red dice to transmute the things into this section. So actually this dice is no good, I can't do the transmute here. But what you can do is on someone else's turn, let's imagine Madly had this dice here, if she uses her dice to do something, you can react after someone else has taken their turn. You kind of flip these lightning bolt things over and you get to use their dice for whatever the symbol or whatever the colour is. So I could use that to transmute this to get one of the things that I need. Now something else a little bit complicated here is you also need essences when doing transmutations. Again, you can spend the dice to get the essences, and again the symbol matters here. So for this particular symbol I can get this kind of triangle or mountain essence thing, and you take one of these, and then each time you do a transmute, so I'd spend a dice, move it up. If it was a black dice, I could spend it there like I was doing the reaction. I would spend this, and then it moves you up on these different tracks. Now we've sort of gone to the top of these tracks now, but effectively there's like an earth, fire, water and air here. So you're trying to advance on the track. So if I spend mountain in this particular game, the triangle corresponded with the mountain, and I would move my appropriate colour up here. And you can see at the end of the game, you're getting points for getting to the top of these tracks, but this is very important for another reason. When you try and fulfill a contract, not only do you need to have the appropriate resources through the various transmutations and things, you also need to be at appropriate level on the right track. So for this, I needed to be height 6 at least on the fire track. So on the fire track, you see by the end of the game, I actually managed to get up to 8. But as you're going through the game, you're trying to raise your levels on these tracks, spending the essences whenever you transmute the ingredients in order to fulfill the requirements. Now, having done all that, you're going to get points at the end of the game, and you're going to get some kind of bonus for completing it. And the different, it's interesting, the different colours of cards give you bonuses for different kinds of things. So the air cards tend to, Steve, you were saying, what are these? So
the different types of element give you different things. So the air cards kind of give you essences.
So that's generally one way you're going to get those, yeah.
Fire cards generally to do with points and endgame scoring.
Yeah.
The earth cards are generally to do with getting resources.
Yeah, that's right. So these earth ones, you can see this is getting more sort of basic ingredients. You just kind of add them to the bottom. Let me just show you a couple more of these. Yeah, that's more essences, and that moves you up on a track. That's interesting. And this one, oh, there's quite a lot of resources here. As you can see, there's actually the square ones are the refined resources, which are the better ones, and you can see the round ones are the basic ones that kind of sit underneath. So yeah, and what was the final? The water ones?
The water one kind of improves your mastery.
On these tracks here. So yeah, you can go quite a lot. Steve got very high on these tracks because he completed an awful lot of water contracts. So that's going on. A couple of other things. You can also get these artifacts which go at the sides here. You actually have to spend 3 kind of pips or dice positions, if you like, worth of stuff, and you take one of these artifacts, and when you place it in an appropriate thing here, you immediately get the stuff in it. So if I just show you this one, it's slightly simpler. This just gets you 2 essences of your choice, so that's quite handy. But then, if this was here, if we imagine, whenever you transmute along here, or in fact you could transmute from here along to here, but using this section here, it triggers this again. So putting these at the side, you're kind of getting extra bonus actions, which can be quite significant. And then another thing is there are these cards here. There's a couple of different ways you can get these cards, but there's a kind of end game scoring thing that you're aiming for here. And this is going to get you 2 points for every space you are up on the fire track. So that's 1 end game point. But in order to actually score this card, you have to kind of have the appropriate requirements at the top. Now this is 3 water, either sort of recipes that you completed. So in this case you can see I've got 1 water recipe. Or in terms of these artifact tiles, you see these are all air tiles. I had a mountain one over here. You have to be able to have the appropriate requirements to satisfy this at the end of the game. So that's another thing, you're often trying to get these in order to satisfy the end game scoring things. Alright, just a couple more things, there's an awful lot going on here. When you put one of these things here, these little things start here. And when you put your first one there, you get to take this off and put it in this little grid here, which starts off empty, which does a couple of things. When you fill a row or a column, you get the stuff. So in this case, this gets me extra of these kind of reaction tokens, which is very useful, which is why I've got so many. Here, for example, you're going to get a gold. Here it gets you a couple of silver resources. There's a whole bunch of ways of getting extra stuff by filling this. But also, when you move it here, you can spend this later to get whatever the action is there. This is the way you get the endgame scoring cards. But also, when you reveal it, this then gives you a discount off future formulas of this type. So in terms of completing the water one, for example, whatever the requirements are, if I've got a minus question mark, I need 1 fewer of the resources when I try and complete the cards. So you're trying to get the cards which give you discounts on getting more cards. You can also spend gold, incidentally, the most valuable resource, to give you even more discounts. But there's a lot of engine building, a lot of combos of different things, but the whole time you're thinking, with this particular dice, is it the right colour and the right symbol to do what I want? Because the colour matters for the transmutation, the colour also matters when you're taking the artifacts, but the symbol matters when you're taking the essences, and the symbol matters when you're... That's right, when you're taking the constant things. It's just, there's an awful lot to think about with just 1 dice that you take. Now after you've taken the dice, you kind of use it, and you're taking 3 dice over the course of the round. You play the game over 3 rounds, and at the end you count up all your points, most points wins. What do we think?
Oh wow, this is one of the thinkiest games I've played in a long time, but I don't think that there's anything in the game that isn't needed. I think everything links well. I think it's not one bit of it's thinky, the whole thing's thinky. Like Jonathan says, on your turn you're looking, right, it's my turn to do, right, okay, well I want the one with the most potency here, but there are only black dice there. Okay, well I'll take one of those, but the symbol doesn't match the contract I can complete this turn. Oh, I can use my chameleon token to copy it. Oh wow, the turns can potentially be very long in this game. This is a game you should not play with people who are AP prone, because even people who've played this game before are still going on. It's my second game of it. First game I was like, no. Second game I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think just any game with loads of options and strategic and oh no, I can't take this because I need that sort of feeling in the game. The reacting to other people means you just cannot switch off. You basically think, right, on my turn I've taken a red dice, which means to transmute this I need a black dice. Well, I cannot do that. I haven't got a chameleon token, which means I need someone else to take a black dice, hoping one of them does. I can copy them, because they're probably copying my red dice anyway, because I know that I need to take a red dice, and it kind of works well. I think the more players, the more things there are to kind of react and bounce of other people, which would make it nice, but I would warn against playing this as 4 players. I saw someone who play it on Thursday night, and they took a long time. This is not a fast game, but I think it's brilliant.
Okay, Madly?
So this was my first time playing it. There's a lot of rules, and I think most likely I would need to play it for the second time to actually figure out a good engine for the game. I didn't have a good engine at all, so I was dead last. But otherwise, yeah, it's really interesting. There's a lot of things going on. You need to, really figure out the dice. It's a good game.
Rating out of 10?
Maybe higher if I played for the second time, but for now, 6.
Okay, Steve?
9.5.
Wow, okay. I loved it. It is super AP Pro, and there's just so many options. You're taking 1 dice, The colour matters, where you take it from matters, the symbol matters, and they matter differently for different things. And there's so many different things you need to think about in terms of getting your engine going, completing those potions, getting the resources, getting the essences, going up on the tracks, getting the artifacts. It's just tons and tons and tons of stuff. But I was so engaged all the way through. And it's one of these games I know I could play it again and again and again, and every time there's going to be so much to think about. It's not a game I would ever get bored of. My only slight criticism of the game, apart from the fact it can be a bit slow, I would never play this personally with 4 players. I think 3 is definitely the sweet spot here. My only slight criticism is with the end game scoring cards. If you're drawing them later in the game, sometimes some people can get quite lucky with, oh, this matches totally with the tracks that I've gone up, and other people can not be so lucky. So there's just a bit of randomness with those end game scorings. If you don't happen to get the ones that match the potions that you've completed, then that's a little bit frustrating. It's a minor niggle though. On the whole, I think it's a fantastic package. I would be on a 9 out of 10. Alright, thanks for watching. That was Trismegistus.